ke monate ke Red Mic radio station nna ka lebitso ke Miss D Dineo Mamotsi Mokoena ha nke be ke hele ke itlamela ka bo ha ke tsamaye ke le mo ke tsamaya le basebetsi mmoho le nna be ba entseng hore technique ena e be e teng tsatsing la kajeno empa tsatsing la kajeno re na le moeti wa rona wa bohlokwa e re nang le yena momamedi wa ka e leng Ntate Nkululeko Xhelithole ke yena e re nang le yena tsatsing la kajeno e re tsamayang le yena o tswa ka mole ka iLungelelo Human Rights Foundation. Ntate Nkululeko, morning and welcome to Red Mic radio station. How are you, Ntate?
Thank you so much, Madam Dineo. No, you're right, one of that.
Okay. Nkululeko, before singamosha isikhathi ngicela nje utshele abalaleli bethu ukuthi ubaba Nkululeko ubani yena ubuya kuphi so that sizokwazi ukuthi singene endabeni yethu iLungelo lethu.
My name is Nkululeko Xhelithole. I'm from an institution that is called iLungelo together we are on a Human Rights Foundation. We are based here in Johannesburg at Gandhi Square at the now original offices. That's where we are operating from.
Okay. Nkululeko ngiyazi ukuthi man iLungelo lethu angisakhumbuli kahle but ingathi kuma 2014 or more than that iyaqala lapho iLungelo lethu. So ngicela ukuthi usitshele kabanzi ukuthi niqale kanjani inhloso yenu ukuthi niziqale le nto. What was it?
iLungelo lethu has been in existence for over 20 years now. The founding members of iLungelo Human Rights Foundation, amongst them was King Sibiya. Unfortunately is late, and he was the founding president of this foundation. Together with Solima Baila, Ian Bedos, and Winika Mokwena. Those were the founding members, and others as well. I may have left them out because I don't remember them quite well. Because I came on board on November 2014 with King Sibiya and others, whilst we were still operating from the Central Methodist Church at that time. So King Sibiya unfortunately has passed on, but he has left a glorious movement, and he worked so hard and so tirelessly to be where we are today. We owe him a lot of gratitude. If we not of him, we wouldn't be here today. There would be no iLungelo Human Rights Foundation. Our core business with our foundation is the evictions and many other, of course, human rights issues. But the core business that made Sibiya, Solima Baila, Ian Bodas, and Winnie Mokwena was to see the evictions. Remember, Sibiya was once a councillor in Soweto, representing his ward in Rockville or Moroka today. Now, he was in the front line, he saw the evictions, what were they doing to our people. That is why now he came up with this idea, with the other communities, of course, those that I have already mentioned. That's how the organization started. That's how we are where we are today. Furthermore, evictions are such a terrible thing because, as I said, Sibiya was a councillor. And then he never went back for the second term as a councillor because he saw what was happening. He dedicated his life, his entire life, to serving the people of our country. It's not only here in Soweto. We are reached almost everywhere. We've got satellite offices, for instance, in Durban, that is managed by Dennis Davis. In Durban as well, we've got all those people working towards. And evictions have affected the whole country. Every corner of our country, you hear about evictions. Now, he decided, Sibiya, to challenge these evictions. And it was not an easy thing to do at that time. And you must remember, the people who evict our residents in these offices are people who are highly connected. Now it's not easy to fight them. But fortunately, due to King Sibiya's wisdom and the people that he started the organization with, they managed to be where we are today, in as far as protecting people from not leaving their houses.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Baba Nkululeko, awusitshele if sifuna ukwazi ukuthi nilungelo lethu ku-housing and the bills of rights ningena kanjani and nibona ukuthi ningayifinya kanjani le nto ukuthi at least we can't say it must stop, but at least inciphe or ibe nala nto ukuthi ayisayenzeki nje kakhulu, even though we know ukuthi isazwenzeka. But how are you guys trying to figure out on that one?
What we have decided to do was to come up with what is called a class action. Because defending evictions on your own is very expensive. Few people, the mere fact that you got evicted from your house, now you need to have a lawyer in order to defend you in court. It's very expensive. Justice in our country is very, very expensive. Only the rich can manage to have expensive lawyers. Now, what we decided to come up with was a class action. The class action is whereby we have grouped all those people who have been evicted from their houses, especially those when they were evicted, they never got an alternate accommodation. Because our constitution is very clear on that. Our constitution, page 5, chapter 2, the Bill of Rights. If only our people can make sure that each household has got a copy of the constitution in a language that they will understand, not necessarily in the English language, in any other language. So that chapter, that part of the constitution, chapter 2, the Bill of Rights, that is where now it says, amongst other things, if a person is getting evicted from a house, they must give an alternate accommodation. That in our country does not happen, because people are simply dropped into the street to fend for themselves. Hence now, we came up with this class action. Now the class action, we decided across the country, not only here in Johannesburg or Gauteng province, but the entire country. We've got thousands of people who belong to the class action. Now those people who group them together and classify it as a class action, housing class action, against the 4 major banks. Because the people who evict people are the major banks, are the banks of each other. We don't know who they work with, but ultimately it's a bank that repossesses your house, through their lawyers, of course. Now, at that stage, hence now, those people have been grouped together, we are going to challenge, we are already on the way of challenging that. It stopped for a while. It did not move at the High Court, because there was no judge who was appointed to adjudicate over our case. Number one. Number two, when you apply for the class action at the High Court, you must get a certificate. So we could not get that certificate for some time. It's been lying dormant at the High Court. But fortunately now, our advocate has worked tirelessly around that. We've got the certificate, we've got the judge advocated to oversee the class action. If all goes well, we are going to court in May.
Okay. Oh, meaning shukuthi ke manje the way uchaza ngakhona, i-certificate is been long with Ms. Toll. You've been trying to find a certificate. Even if before King Sibiya was before, we don't struggle to get a certificate. But now at least Ms. Toll, then we can move forward. That's what you're saying.
That's correct, my dear.
Okay.
That's what I mean, Austina.
Okay, okay, masingene ke baba sibiya kule nto amabhenki esizwe ukuthi amabhenki even though singeke siwamenshine ngamagama wabo, but amabhenki wona maniya kuwo nikhuluma ngawo athini?
No, the banks, we actually don't speak to them anymore. We could only speak to them if you come with your case, Austina. Even then, we don't speak to the bank. We speak to the lawyer's bank. to the bank's lawyers. They are the people, because now we must remember, once a bank takes you to court, they need first to discuss it with their lawyers. And one other thing that our people, excuse me, should understand, when you are faced with an eviction, the first thing that the bank has to do is to send you Section 129A, which is a letter of demand. It is that letter of demand that first you need to respond to. But now what happens with the banks? They don't send you that Section 129A. All they do, they go directly to their lawyers to evict you. You see, the worst thing with evictions, what you know, is that you borrow money, for instance, for 500,000 rand. You want to buy a car. You buy a car at that 500,000 rand. It takes you 48, 60, up to 72 months to pay back. But now, why, when you borrow 500,000 rand to buy a house, it takes you 20 years or 30 years? What informs? What is the difference between a car and a house? Why should it take so long? You sign a mortgage bond. That mortgage bond, you know the term mortgage, it's a French term meaning death. In other words, when you sign a mortgage bond, you sign your death. Because how possible is it that you must take 20 years, up to 30 years, to pay 500,000 rand back? Why should it be so expensive? No. What they do, they even give you a 30-year bond. Here's a young person. He's getting into the market for the first time. He's 30 years, 31 years. Now he's signing a mortgage bond for 30 years. By the time he finishes that bond, he'll be 61 on retirement. How is he going to save some money for the retirement? Because those millions, they go to the bank instead of going into her own pocket. That's the thing that we want to know. Why? What does inform this 20-year or 30-year or 25-year period? That's why we cannot understand it. But with us now, that we're taking them to court, all those people who have been evicted from their houses, they must at least get some compensation of whatever nature. The justice must be served. And those people must be compensated in one way or another. The judges will decide. That is why now we've got a formidable legal team to fight these evictions.
Okay.
Yes.
But Nkululeko, nokubona sometimes mountain include, let's take we're taking a 500,000 lokhuluma ngayo. So awusakwazi ukuyibhadalela ukuya phambili. And then there comes ibank ingakwazi ukuyi-auction nge-10 rand. I was reading through some other statements kakho with King Sibiya. Ukuthi umuntu uthengise, like they sold indlu yakhe nge-10 rand ekubeni yena uyithenge ngemali eningi. So kuleyo situation uzoyenza kanjani?
Yes, that is a very interesting question. You know, because houses have been sold for 10 rand, 400 rand. For instance, one of our members in the class action, his house was 1.5 million rand. Was sold for 1,000 rand. 1.5 million rand house sold for 1,000 rand. Is that justice?
No.
It's not. It's not, because another thing, you pay your house for 10 years, 15 years. When you pay your house, the repayments is together with the insurance money to cover that. Now, when you start experiencing financial problems, why do the banks not use insurance to pay it off? They're waiting for you to die. And in some other cases, people have been evicted when the mortgage bond had an insurance cover. You've been paying it on a monthly basis, you never defaulted, never did anything. But that money does not pay you off your bond. Those are some of the things what we want to know from the court. from the justice that you cannot, Austina, in this day, age and era, be enslaved by the banks. Because the banks today, they do as they feel like doing, which is not right for us, for anybody else, particularly the African people, the black people, and the colored people. Those are the most affected people. We have a case in point, for instance. Sorry to divert from that.
Oh, it's fine, it's fine.
We have a case. A client applied for a loan in one of the major banks. They granted him the loan and everything else. He had his own businesses at that time. And he was 55 years when he applied for the loan. Now, how do you grant a person at that age a bond? And he was given 30 years to pay it off. By the time he pays that off, he'll be 85. He is fortunate enough to live up to that age. How will he, at that age, from 55 up to 85, pay the bond back? That is reckless lending. Because you should have been told, look, you don't qualify. You understand what I'm saying? Because now, even if you are working, you cannot apply for a bond at the age of 55, or can be granted to you at that age. People are just about to get into retirement. How do you? Now, unfortunately, this particular client happened to get sick, admitted in hospital. He could not work anymore. He couldn't do anything anymore. Not the bank wanted to evict him, and then he came to us on time. We are now still waiting for the bank's response. So that person must get that house free. He's incapacitated now. He cannot be able to work. He can't do anything. Now, the insurance has been paying because there is not a single financial institution anywhere else that can borrow you money without insurance cover. They always cover themselves. Now, that insurance, what happens to that insurance when your house is paid off? Do you get it? Do they remind you, say, oh, listen, you've been paying insurance as well. Here's insurance because you never claimed anything. Therefore, it's the X amount. They don't do that. They don't. Not unless you go and ask and tell them, listen, I've paid down my account, what about my insurance money? Because I never claimed it for the last 20 years. That's what should happen, Austina. Yes.
So manje masasingena ku-housing constitution yona nikhe nayibheka nibheka ngeliphi ilihlo or nikhe naya ku-housing yona nabeka lento lesimo lesi esibhekana naso phansi as ilungelo lethu?
No, we did not. For one reason, that the housing is a government institution. We are speaking exclusively about bonded houses, mortgaged houses, that do not fall under the state. The state is the municipal houses, those houses are Tabatswati Baro, Lady RTPs.
Yes.
Those are the government houses. When you have a problem, yes, you can go to them. If your parents' house or your grandmother's house, you have a problem, you can go to them. But we still also have to be in those conditions.
Okay.
Yes.
But bese ngisho ukuthi umzekelo angithi uyakhipha bonding, it happens that you sleep outside.
Yeah.
Don't you think the house maybe can do something just
Yeah.
to accommodate them or give them maybe or Baba Bali say Guma RDP or
Yes. Yeah, no, I understand that quite well. When you get evicted, the first thing that they need to do is to downsize you, give an alternative accommodation, even if it's not so affluent as your previous house, but at least to have a shelter over your head with your family. That's where the government can come in. Now the problem is, some who were fortunate enough to be given RGB houses. But the question is now, you have been evicted, now you need to get an RGB house. What happens to the person who applied for that house, who are RGB, who cannot afford the mortgage bond? He can only afford, the government, the state can only give that person that house. But it's just a handful. those who did happen to be downsized and received RRTP houses. That did happen, but it's not frequent.
Amelo wa tsebele soya SSAP Rate Mike o ka rata maqepheng a rona ho Facebook ke South African Communist Party le YouTube ke South African Communist Party o ntso o dutse le rona tsatsing la kajeno mona Main Street ntse re na le Ntate Nkululeko ke mo fa fela chance hore a ka no metsi a kgone hore a ke data tsena tsa bona hantle Ntate Nkululeko ha re shebe ena ya black on black violence nna ke nahana hore this thing ya class action it can cause that because high meaning if uthenge indlu then uyeza uzomkhipha endlini yami, don't you think they can fight, or are they not cases where they are fighting among themselves?
Yes, that happens. Yeah.
So yes,
because there's no way any person can rock up on your property with a flimsy piece of paper and tell you that, listen, I bought this house, so we must get out. I'm the new owner. No, it doesn't work out that way. It shouldn't work that way. You must receive a court order, first and foremost, number one. Must receive a court order. That court order must be delivered by the sheriff of the High Court. No one can evict you from the house except the sheriff. Even the sheriff. The court order that he brings to your property must be authorized by a judge, a sitting judge. Only a judge can take your house away from you. Number three, before your house can be put on execution, the judge can take a decision that your house is executable, it can be sold. You must be present in the court. That decision must be taken in your presence, not in absentia. It's not right. You have every right, according to the Bill of Rights, to be present when your case is being heard or adjudicated by a judge. If a decision is taken in your absence, what will nobody do? Once you receive the combined summons, you need to take that back to court, because you were not present at the High Court when that decision was taken. You did not even have a representative legal, although constitutionally you have a right to go there and defend yourself, because after all, it's your house, it's your property. You know better than a lawyer in this matter, because it's your matter, it's your personal matter. You know better than a lawyer, and therefore you'll be able to express yourself better than any legal representative in the house. Although, unfortunately now, as I said earlier on, justice is expensive for the black people. It is for this reason, therefore, that we decided to go on housing class action. It's because it is so expensive. When we look at 60,000 to 80,000 rand for a lawyer to defend your case, when you could not afford 5,000 rand repayment of your bond. So now, it's for that reason, Austin, that one thing that I would like to advise our listeners, your listeners, is that the moment you get a piece of paper, it's a court order, whether it's a court order, it's a combined summons, whatever kind of that you see is a legal document, please come to us immediately so that we'll be able to help you. Because now, the reason our people, if you get that paper, don't sit on it, don't destroy it, seek help immediately. Once that's done, and come to us very early, we'll be able to help you. In most cases, people come very late, you know. And the most important thing in this eviction thing is that it is easier to defend you, to help you whilst you're still in your house. Before you are evicted, ejected, thrown out, it's easier and better when you come to us on time. We'll be able to help you. Because either you oppose that decision or you defend it. It depends how the court order is structured. We sit down with you. We are not lawyers. We're human rights activists. We know how to do this. But we've got lawyers that we work with. Then they will be able to take it up from there.
Unlike when you come, it's late now, so
Yes.
keep you ending.
Yeah, also in the control, now black and somebody else who do that. It's very difficult one on that.
For you guys to fight for that.
That's correct.
Okay. Baba Nkululeko, masisibheka nje in closing before sivala, sibheke social injustice. It's the importance of social justice in our country when we gonna kanjani.
It's very important, Austina. Very, very important. For instance, you see, if justice in our country was applied in the sense of applying the law, we should not be having this house class action for instance. We wouldn't be having these organizations that are fighting abuse against women, children, and the aged. So, our people are subjected to those things simply because the justice is not serving our people the way it's supposed to be doing. We've got Kurumanda Advocacy Group, for instance, today. You've got LGB plus 2 organization today, all because of justice. If justice was served equally and everybody had access to justice, not subjecting you to expensive lawyers, you use even your last cent that you have just to fight, to go to court to fight injustice, meted out to you and your family. We shouldn't be having those things. You know, we should be having lawyers. For instance, you get a person who committed murder, serious murder, or robbery, serious robbery, killing people. Those people, the legal aid board, legal aid board will come on board and help those people. You know, free of charge. You don't pay a cent. But what about people who are facing evictions, who are facing serious crime, who are facing serious abuse? They don't have that access to legal aid. Why? And legal aid gets money from the state. So that is what I say. Social justice is definitely not existing in my country today. We shouldn't be having all these problems because if justice was served equally. They say we're all equal before the law, but some animals are more equal than others. That's our biggest problem. You know? Yes.
Okay. Baba Nkululeko, ikhona enye into important esingayifaka la ku-package le yethu for namhlanje.
Yeah, for today, of course, because our organization does not have money, we would like to go on consumer education, educating our people about their rights, talking to them about everything that they need to do in order to access justice. We need to have community advisory centers across the country so that those centers must be manned by people who understand the law, particularly law students. They can serve on those centers and able to help people before they can engage expensive lawyers. So that people must be educated about their rights. That must be consumer education. It's very, very important. You know, because if you know your rights, it's not easy to be victimized legally. Once you know your rights. So now, because we have no funds, we are unable to do that. If only we could be able to access funding, then we'd be able now to have those advisory centers across our country, the townships and rural areas, everywhere else, so that the law, justice must be accessible to everybody else. You know? Because now we've got more pro bono. Pro bono will simply tell you that if your case is 400,000 and 500,000, no, this is too expensive, we can help you. We cannot help. You must get a lawyer, you must get an advocate. And those people are expensive. And fortunately for us,